Hi, my name is Chris Pender, and I make the game of real life. I've been making the game actually about 20 years. I started out at street fairs where it was a requirement that you had to handcraft everything. So I made the games by hand. It's a bookmaking technique. So I get some chipboard and then I put some tape down the seam, put some backing paper on the back, and then I use a roller and then put down the print onto the game. And the box is set pretty much the same kind of technique. So basically, it's a parody of the original game of life. I played the original game a lot when I was a kid. It was my favorite game. So I really loved it, and I loved the storylines. And it seemed like there were Monopoly people and life people, and I was a life person. I became an actor, and so I think that's the thing, is that I like the storylines, the storytelling. So basically, it starts here, and it's a path of life. It starts in this quadrant. That's the concept. So it starts here, you go down here, this is a childhood, because I thought it always needed a childhood. So this is a childhood, like your parents' influence. Then your teenage years, then you get a job. You can say yes or no to marriage. You don't have to get married. That was in the original game, you had to get married, and that seemed to bother a lot of people. Here the path splits, whether you have kids or no kids. You have to get past war. War's a bad space. Middle age, midlife crisis, menopause, and then old age is up here. So it's one long path of life. Now, the original game is this one. This is what I played when I was a kid. So it came out in the 1960s, and it was a game that was really all about money. So you get money, you lose money, and the player with the most money wins. So then you have babies along the way. So it's a game of money and babies, really. So for my game, there's really two parodies. So the first parody is that instead of trying to get the most money, as you go down the path, you're trying to land on the spaces that have smiley faces, because the smiley faces represent happiness. And in my game, that's the goal, is you're trying to get as much happiness as you can. And it's the player with the most happiness who wins the game, instead of the most money. What a concept. So then, the other parody, so that's the one parody. The other parody is the game is real. And I guess the idea is that as I got older, the original game just didn't seem real. There seems to be, it's really a kid's game, which is fine. But as you get older, it's just not real. And there's a lot of real things going on when I was growing up. So basically, one of the first ideas is I have 3 older sisters. So my oldest sister had a baby when I was a kid. And so we had to take her to the hospital, and she gave birth, right? So I thought immediately, oh, they should have that in the game of life, because you have all these babies, but the woman doesn't go through childbirth, and that really doesn't make any sense. So I put it in my game that if you're a female character and you get pregnant, you choose to have the baby, you have to go to the childbirth to see how long your labor is. The other early idea was war, because the Vietnam War was going on when I was a kid. And again, I have 3 older sisters, so they were worried about their boyfriends getting drafted. So I started getting worried about the draft. And I remember the first idea was that you'd land on a space that says, you're drafted, you have to go to Vietnam. And you'd go down the path and you'd be getting shot at, and you're in a jungle and you're scared, just like, ah! So that turned into the war space. So if you land here, you have to roll to see what kind of war happens in your lifetime. Whether it's a revolution, civil war, U.S. attacks, something like 9/11, U.S. invades, World War III, or nuclear war. If it's nuclear war, the game's over for everybody. And again, I think the game has like a 70s feel to it. So, that's kind of the reality. Vietnam was so real that it was like scary, so I had to put that should be in the game. So those are the 2 parodies of the game. Now, this is the game I've been making by hand. Now, I imitated the big box of the original game. So my box is really large. And what I found for manufacturing, and also people's preference, is they prefer a smaller box. So that's what this is. I made a prototype here. So this is the one I'm raising the money for on Kickstarter. So I want to be able to manufacture this game. It's smaller, so it doesn't use as many materials. And this is all you get in this stuff. So you get the score sheets and the rocks and dice and cards are in here. And then to make it smaller, I've turned the board into a quad board. So it'll be the same game, but it'll just be in 4 sections. So that's the game that I'm raising the money for. So if you can, choose a reward, and we can get this manufactured and get the message out there. That would be awesome. Also, if you can, if you could share this on social media, because I'm an old guy, I don't really do social media that well, so I could really use the help there. And there's going to be another video with more details on how to play the game in the future, or further down the line. All right, thanks a bunch.
I have 2 teenagers, a boy and a girl, and this is the only game that all 3 of us enjoy and have a blast playing.